Okay. Wait, why are we under the title Blood? Oh no. Did it not update? Dang it. That's unfortunate. Okay. Where are you at? Where'd you go?
Run away.
Why? I see you.
Think.
Oops. Now look what you've done. I'm gonna
What do I do?
use my bomb, my smoke bomb. I'm just kidding. Okay, it's Teaching Tuesday. Today we're gonna learn about the rogue Whisperknife Paragon. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this similar to the same ways that I've done it in the past, where I've done the Guardian Fighter and the Cleric Devout Paragons, the Guardian Fighter tank and the Cleric Healer. A lot has changed on the Cleric Healer since I've done it last. I may do it again in the future. I don't know. But we're just going to go through the rogue, talking about our powers and gear and mounts, our whole setup, and then like optimal rotations for single target and AOE based on what I personally do. I do not claim to be the best rogue that there is in the game at all, nowhere near it. I do have someone with me who is a very good rogue in the game. So if I say something wrong or give very, very bad advice, hopefully he will correct me throughout this. If he doesn't, then they're just, all the rogues are going to keep their secrets, I guess. I don't know. I will have this video then uploaded onto YouTube because obviously there's nobody watching it right now on my live stream. But if anybody does join in live stream and you have any questions, feel free to write those down. And once it hits YouTube, if you are finding this video later, if you have questions, just ask them on the YouTube video and we can do our best to answer them. If I don't know the answers, I will try to get the answers for you. The person that's here with me is Luffy in the game. He plays a rogue as his main. He plays all the classes. He does really well on all of the classes. He is a solidly very good player. Over there, Luffy, cold-hearted. Believe it or not. Okay, so to start off with, the rogue has two paragons. It has an assassin and it has a Whisperknife. Whisperknife is outperforming assassin by a good amount right now, so there's not very many people playing the assassin paragon. They're mostly all playing the Whisperknife paragon. I don't even know if there's like niche reasons why assassin would be better right now over Whisperknife. Can you think of any?
No, there isn't any.
Yeah. So
They just don't perform as well.
yeah, so we're Whisperknives. All these little rogues running around for the most part, unless you just have like this rogue nostalgia and you want to be an assassin and go against the grain, you're gonna be playing a Whisperknife Paragon. To start with, for the so if you're just now creating a character and you're wanting to play a rogue, your very first step on creating a character is going to be choosing a class. Which class is the best choice for a rogue? I personally, I don't get too involved in the whole class selection in terms of like min maxing because I just don't like some of the classes compared to the others. Some of them are really ugly and bulky and like big and just like I don't want to play a game running around looking like them. So I typically choose of the best options that have the best character appeal to me. If you want to go into min maxing sort of thing and you want to choose based on that, the best classes that you could possibly choose for the rogue is
Wood Elf, Gif, and in some situations, Dragonborn is okay to use, but we don't really need the power as much these days. So the two that you usually go is either Gif or Wood Elf.
I am a wood elf because they look better than the gifts. Gifts don't have a nose, and I don't like them. A wood elf gives you crit strike,
Yes, 5% crit strike.
5% crit strike to your added stats whenever you. That's like your race bonus is you get 5% crit strike that you can use towards your stats. If you go Gith Yankee, it is 5% combat advantage. Depending on how you do your stats and you build your class and what gear you're able to get and things like that, you could choose which class you want to be based on that. Dragonborn is, I don't actually remember what Dragonborn is because not that many people are Dragonborn these days.
It's 3% power, 3% crit.
There you go. 3% power, 3% crit. There's another is it just a straight Dragonborn or does it matter if it's metallic Dragonborn?
It doesn't matter. I think the metallic only gives extra HP these days.
Yeah, I can't actually remember that. So I should have did my research on that. Whoops. Anyways, okay, so those are your best races. Otherwise, if you want to be a dwarf, running around as a little rogue, be a dwarf. If you want to be a halfling, be a halfling. Be whatever you want to be. But if you're looking specifically for like those min max options, Wood Elf or Gith Yankee is probably going to be the way that you go in terms of that. Our characters are both set up for in-game content. Like we run in-game content on here. That is what our goal is. I'm still in the process of working on achieving my max status of gear and things like that. If I inspect Lou, he pretty much has everything that he's trying to get, and he's not really looking for anything else right now on his rogue because he's gotten it all and we haven't had any new content released or new equipment or gear or anything like that. So he is my end goal right here in terms of where I'm trying to get to in my gear. I'm still not there. This is what I'm wearing in the meantime. We're going to go through each one of these items and kind of give you an idea of like substitutes and things like that. But we're going to come back to this. First, we're going to look at the actual class itself. As the rogue Whisperknife, this is your like power trait and setup. So we're going to go through each one of these things and why we are using the things that we are using. This is a single target build that I'm on right now, so we're going to talk about single target powers first. Like part of the rogue's appeal is okay, so the rogue is a melee class. With it being a Whisperknife, you do have sort of like leeway to play with in terms of it being a little bit more ranged. Like really you're only using one encounter for the most part where you got to get up on the boss to like guarantee you hit the boss. Otherwise you're throwing daggers and you're throwing blades at the boss. So like you have room to play with in terms of like those unfriendly melee mechanic type things, but it's still a pretty close range class. Do you have anything that you want to add there?
Nope, that's about it.
Okay, so as far as setting up your powers, single target, you got 4 at wills here. You got Cloud of Steel, Sly Flourish, Disheartening Strike, and Shuriken Toss. The main one that you always want to be using for sure is going to be Disheartening Strike. And if you look at it, it says that you fling a dagger at your target with extreme precision. It does some damage to it. You apply a dot to it, but then the added effect of it is that you increase the target's damage taken from projectile and physical attacks by 5%. So before you start using any of your encounters and things like that, you always want to throw one disheartening strike. You don't have to sit there and continuously spam it. You just need to throw one disheartening strike every 10 seconds to keep that debuff up on the boss or whatever you're fighting at all times. The other at will that you would use is going to be Cloud of Steel. And if you look at that one, it says toss blades at your target, dealing physical damage to them for a magnitude of 60. Each strike that hits the target will increase the damage they take from Cloud of Steel by 5%, stacking up to 10 times. So you could throw 10 daggers, like 10 of your little Cloud of Steel, at the boss to get up to the max amount of damage that the Cloud of Steel is going to take. Like, you want to keep your stacks up on that as well, and they refresh. So like, so long as you don't stop throwing them over the course of that 5 seconds, you're always going to keep those stacks up once you reach 10 stacks, right?
Yes.
Right. So you're just gonna, anytime you're not using your encounters, you're just gonna be chucking Cloud of Steel, and every 10 seconds, throw in a disheartening strike. The other encounters, Sly Flourish. A distracting flourish of your blades deals damage to your target with increased magnitude throughout the combo. It's not so great. You do this whole little jazz right here, and nope, just don't use that one. I don't know. And then the other one being Shuriken Toss. I don't think I can use it without a target. I don't even know what the animation for it is. I think you just like throw a thingy. 1 second. So it's this little guy.
It is an AOE at will.
It is hitting all of those targets, as you see. So it's AOE. Let's read the description. You throw a shuriken at an enemy, which ricochets to 2 additional targets for a magnitude of 60. So the reason that we're not going to use this, though, is that it is just simply a magnitude of 60, and you have a better option. Your Cloud of Steel is a magnitude of 60, but the more you throw your Cloud of Steel, the more damage your at-will is going to do, because you're stacking it up, gaining 5% each time, up to 10 stacks for up to 50% more damage per at-will.
So it goes up to 90.
90 magnitude. So this at will right here is, even though it's only hitting one target, you're doing more damage than this one will. So that's why you wouldn't use this one over the other one. This one's just sucks because it's 40 magnitude and melee, and it just doesn't even fit the theme. So why is it there? Okay. So then moving on to encounters, you've got a bunch of different encounters here. Like, there's a lot of encounters that are situational that you have the possibility to use. As far as the Whisperknife goes, they have a pretty set of things that you're going to use as far as like a maximum damage rotation. That is going to be Shadow Strike, Lashing Blade, an impact shot for the most part. Situationally, based on the content that you're running and things like that, you can switch off impact shot for smoke bomb. Impact shot does more damage, I believe. 120 times 4, 480 versus 600. So yes, impact shot is like the
No,
one that what?
so impact shot is 600 magnitude, right?
Yeah.
And then with dagger threat, it does 10% more damage. So impact shot is technically 660.
Okay.
Where with smoke bomb, it's 120 by 4, so that's 480. But with enchanter's hex, enchanter hex, when using a counter or daily power with a control effect on a target, deal an extra 50 magnitude damage. So each time you drop smoke bomb, each one of those ticks are going to give you an additional 50% magnitude.
50% magnitude or 50 magnitude?
50, not 50%, 50, 50, 50. So if you add 200 on top of that, that's 680. So it's technically better
Better
than
for smoke
impact shot.
bomb? Okay.
Yeah, by 20 magnitude. But the reason being, like, you would use smoke bomb, like, if it's a situation where the boss has, like, many mobs spawning. Um, and the only slight issue with smoke bomb is you won't get the whole duration of it in your first sword. Like the last tick will follow into the second sword of your single target rotation.
Okay.
So it's kind of like it. All the damage is going to be within the artifact core anyway. But if you want to look at raw magnitude, yeah, technically smoke bomb is better. Um, but it's kind of like a personal preference if you want to use smoke bomb the whole time, or if you want to use impact shot the whole time, and then just put smoke bomb on when there's like an AOE environment around the boss.
Okay. So we can't really talk about, like, he just demonstrated that very well. So in terms of just reading off of the descriptions and basing things off of that, you can't really make a judgment call off of those things, because we also run class features or feats down at the bottom, or in this case specifically, a mount insignia bonus that is impacting these individual encounters that we're using by increasing the magnitudes or adding an additional hit for control bonus. Like, not control bonus, but because they're being controlled, it adds an additional magnitude. We haven't really talked about any of those feats or anything yet, so like we'll get there and then like, you know, flashback to these powers and things like that, so that way we're linking them through each thing so you know what's going on. As far as the rogue itself, like the Whisperknife, one of the big things for single target on the Whisperknife is it's shadow optimized. That is like one of your feats down here that you're feeding into. So how he was saying, like, you won't get your powers into your first sod and things like that. So like, in order to know what that stuff is, we're going to go over it down here. I guess let's go over that kind of stuff before going further into the powers, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So, like, as far as feats down here, shadow, like, what you're choosing when you're setting up your class while you're leveling, or if you're just creating it after the fact and you've already reached level 20 and you're creating a new loadout or something like that. These are the feats that I'm in for a single target. Just plain old single target, no ads, spawn-in kind of situation where I would more so want to be AOE powers and things like that. Where I want to use sod in this instance, which is going to be a big hit after I do all of my damage for 5 seconds. Okay, so the first feat that I'm in here is Shady Preparations, which whenever you read it, it says entering stealth reduces all of your cooldowns by 2 seconds. So it gives me a little bit of an advantage being in that feat over another, like, other classes and stuff too, because like my encounter cooldowns right here. So I've got 10.9 seconds, 13.7, and 12.8. 12.8 being the first one that I'm going to use, and then 9.6 and 12 seconds. So by the time I get everything out and I do my mount and my daily and like an artifact call, I have insignia bonuses and stuff as well that are going to reduce my cooldowns. But a lot of times, like, even in like a regular rotation and stuff too, where I'm just sitting there throwing my Cloud of Steel at the boss because I'm waiting on my encounters to come off cooldown, because I'm feeded into this. Once my encounter reaches 2 seconds, I can go into stealth and it immediately brings my encounter back off of cooldown. It takes those additional 2 seconds off for me, so I can go into my rotation then. So that's why I have that one over this one. This one right here says your at-will encounters and daily powers deal up to 10% more damage to foes as their health bars diminish. This bonus is doubled while in stealth. So the less amount of health that they have, the more damage that you do. Up to 10% more damage. I think this one's just better because you get more full encounters off if you use it, I guess. Makes sense to
Yeah,
me.
it synergizes well with the main bonuses and stuff that we're gonna get into.
Okay, so second feat was Dark Reimbursements, and that's when you use an encounter power to leave stealth, you regain 25% stealth. Like, I feel like we always want to have like as much stealth generation and as much like stealth like gaining abilities as possible, because of the fact of like your stealth adding so much to you as a rogue. All of your powers, like when you use them from stealth and things like that, they all have an additional like little bonus that happens whenever you use things from stealth. And then in addition to that, when you use your stealth, you automatically gain, like while you're stealth, you get combat advantage on anything, whether or not you're positionally situated for combat advantage. And that must be a feat or something somewhere. We'll find it. Okay, so this one, when you use an encounter power to leave stealth, you automatically gain 25% of your stealth back. Sounds like a great plan to me. As over hidden attacks, which is just your at will powers, now drain 10% of your stealth meter instead of 15, and stealth regeneration is increased by 50%. All right, so that directly goes against what I just said about I feel like you would want to have more stealth options. Why are we in this?
Because the stealth regen is slow,
Okay.
whereas the instant return of
Of
25%
25%
stealth.
is better. Makes sense. Okay. See? This is why. This is why he's here. Alright, the next feat is one with the shadow. So every 12 seconds you gain one with the shadows. One with the shadows causes your next encounter power to refill half of your stealth meter. This is very important in like your artifact call and making sure that like you're able to get those 2 sods, because you have that one with the shadow up and ready to give you your stealth back so that you can start your next sod. That's why we got that on over this, which is return to the shadows, which is when you activate an encounter power for each target hit, refill 7.5% of your stealth. While behind your target, this effect is increased to 10%. Stealth cannot be gained while stealth. For AoE, this is useful. A single target, not so much. Because you're only hitting one target, obviously, in single target. The next one is Shadow of Demise. This is like the guts and the glory of the rogue right here. And that's going to be whether you're using Shadow of Demise or Shadowy Opportunity. For single target, just specifically right here where we're only going to be really focusing on one boss throughout the fight, we're going to use Shadow of Demise. So if you read what it says while in stealth, your encounter powers add the Shadow of Demise effect to the target of 5 seconds. And then Shadow of Demise, 40% of the damage you deal to this target is dealt again when Shadow of Demise expires. So the second you activate your Shadow of Demise, you have 5 seconds to do as much damage as possible, and then it ends. Like that window ends, and it's going to deal a hit after the fact. Like your sod is going to go off on the boss. So, and it's going to do 40% of that total amount of damage that you dealt within that 5-second window again on the target. So that's a pretty big thing. It's like comparable to the cleric's pod. Only theirs is a longer duration of time than 5 seconds. But it works the same manner like that. And that's why we're using that feat. And then the last feat being Ambusher's Haste, which is while stealth, your powers deal up to 40% more damage based on how full your stealth meter is. So the more stealth you actually have, the more damage you're going to do. So like if you're stealthing to use your daily, you want to use your daily like right after you stealth, because you want it to have that full 40%. You don't want to like stealth and then run around for 2 seconds and then come back and use your daily, because it's not going to do the maximum amount that it could possibly do while you're stealth, because your stealth meter is going to be draining once you activate it. So big hits like that, like you always want them to go at the top of your stealth activation. The other feat that you could choose here is using an at-will encounter or daily power that targets an enemy while you have combat advantage on them, grants the Gutterborn effect for 5 seconds, and the Gutterborn effect is your ranged powers deal 10% more damage. So that's just going to be like your ranged at-wills and your ranged encounters that you use. It's not going to equal the same as chucking out something like really big and it getting 40% more damage. Okay. So with all that being said, that goes back up here to these powers that we had listed as that we were using. So we're using, oh my god. Yeah. Okay, so we're using Shadow Strike, Lashing Blade, and Smoke Bomb. The actual rotation, the way it happens whenever you read these things, I'm a XYB person. As far as my buttons go in the order of my rotation, some people are YBX, some people are BXY, some people are just weirdos and go like, I don't even know, just a completely different way. I go XYB around my rotation. So to start my rotation, like the very first thing that I'm going to use is Shadow Strike. And if you read that, it says whip a shadowy dagger at your target. It does magnitude of 775, not including any kind of additional anything that's added to it from any of the feats or anything, because we haven't looked at those. And then if you look at the apply effect, so refills 20% of stealth on hit. So I'm going to use my Shadow Strike. I'm going to throw it. It's going to hit a target. I'm going to get 20% of my stealth back automatically. And then it's also going to increase the target's damage taken from projectile and physical attacks by 5%. I am a projectile and physical damage dealer as a rogue. So it's increasing my own personal damage by 5%. And then additionally, anybody else in the queue, such as like a barbarian, a ranger, bards, I think have some physical stuff. It's
Guardian
like
fighter.
guardian fighter. Physical attackers are projectile attackers. I think like even though some magical classes, like you would think that they're magical or something like that, I think maybe some of their stuff counts as projectile. I'm not 100% sure on that, but regardless, you're giving a buff to yourself for sure, and then possibly other people depending on what classes that are in there. Of that 5% for 10 seconds. If you use that encounter while you're stealth, it does not remove you from stealth. So that's a huge benefit, because the way the rogue works down here with the sod, if you go back and you read that, so in order to like activate your sod window, you have to use an encounter from stealth. So typically, like if you weren't using Shadow Strike right here, you'd be using one of these other encounters. So like if I go into stealth and then I throw this, it takes me out of stealth immediately. So anytime you use an encounter, unless it specifically states otherwise, when you use an encounter, it removes you from stealth, with the exception of a couple encounters. Shadow Strike being one of them. So as soon as my health bar stays up, I can throw the Shadow Strike, and if you see the little eyeball above my encounters, that means I'm still in stealth. So like it did not take me out of stealth when I did that, and then I therefore can get the stealth benefit of 2 encounters as opposed to just 1 encounter because of that. It also plays into the fact that we have that feat down there where it says Ambusher's Haste, like while stealth, your powers deal up to 40% more damage based on how full your stealth meter is and things like that, because we didn't come out of stealth, so we're getting extra stuff from that as well. And not only does it not take you out of there, but because you use an encounter power while stealth, you just started your sod using that. Like your sod window of 5 seconds. So like it's gonna, so I've got 5 seconds now to deal damage based on all my crap right here. And then like my stealth meter is filling up based on all of those feats as well. I'm getting like the 25% from the initial hit of my Shadow Strike, and then the like it didn't do it there, but like I'll get the 50% from one. What was it? One with the shadows or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, one with the shadows. Like where my next encounter power will refill half of my stealth meter, so it just makes me get myself back a lot faster and synergize as well with one another. As far as like, I don't know how to like explain that right this second. Let's look at these and then we'll come back to that. So as far as like doing a rotation, so that you know, like can see like the full like artifact call rotation and how all this stuff works together, and because you're using that Shadow Strike and things like that, you're able to get 2 sods out with, and you're able to like have your daily stealthed in there too. So your daily on the second like use of stealth is going to be granted 40% more damage because you're using it right after you stealth, and it all works out really well if you can actually do it and not mess it up like I do sometimes still. Anyways, moving on. As far as your dailies go, you've got a bunch of little dailies here that you can use. For a single target, the main daily that's going to be used, I don't even know. Like, you can use like Courage Breaker and stuff like that too. But so you've got Hateful Knives here. This is your like big magnitude hit as far as single target goes. It's a 2000 magnitude hit, and you get combat advantage, added effect. It says you dash towards your foe and knock them prone with an upward strike and hurl 2 daggers at them before you land. So like you literally are going up to it and like you do like this whole little like jump in the air and then chuck 2 daggers down kind of thing. I guess I shouldn't have stealthed that so you could see what I actually did. Oh well, you got the gist of it. Because now I don't have a daily to show you again. Anyways, that's your biggest magnitude as far as your dailies go. So for single target, that's the one typically that you're going to use. I don't have daily yet, but anyways. Then you have Whirlwind of Blades. This is more something that you would really want to use in an AOE setting if you used it at all. You whip your daggers out around you, dealing damage to nearby enemies. If anybody has ever run with a Regis companion, Regis's main attack that he does is the Whirlwind of Blades daily of a rogue, where he like shoots the daggers out all around him in a circle. It's part like each target that you hit makes you deal up to 3% more damage. So up to 5 enemies. So when you use that, if you hit 5 enemies, you're going to be doing 15% more damage for the next 10 seconds on anything that you hit. So it's an AOE daily. So that's why we're not using it right now on this single target build. The other option that you have is Courage Breaker. It is an 1800 magnitude hit, and it's like, if you read it, it says teleport to your target and shatter their courage with a series of powerful attacks. Magnitude 1800 apply effect is that you lower their attack damage by 15% and slow the target by 70, which ignores control immunity. So bosses that like things that are control immune, like it's still going to slow them, and like the biggest thing here being that the added effect is that you're lowering their attack damage by 15%. So you're mitigating damage that the boss is doing to everyone else in the queue, or to yourself if you're running around by yourself doing stuff. Like if you use that, you're gonna take 15% less damage from them because you use that. It's like a DR effect, a damage reduction, mitigation, whatever word you want to use for it. That's what this daily is doing. So you're losing some magnitude power, but you're adding mitigation. So in rare cases or like some scenarios, like typically where I've seen this used is in trials like MSOD or something, where like we've scuffed the run, we've got a lot of death heads, like just things are going south. Like I've seen Lou switch onto Courage Breaker and use this as his daily, as opposed to like saving it for like maybe the hypo or something, just as a team player to try to help the survivability of the group as well. Sometimes it's not always just about your damage. Sometimes it is about helping the team out. So this is a situational sort of being right here that is used in those kind of circumstances. Do you have anything to add about that?
No, sounds about right.
Okay. The next one is Killing Storm. This is an AOE kind of daily as well. It says vanish from sight and then perform a series of dash attacks in a small area around you, a magnitude of 200 times 12. So you hit 12 times during this whole pizzazz thing that's going on. And then it also decreases the target's awareness 5%. I didn't know it did that actually, the awareness part. For 10 seconds is like the amount of time that works. This used to be like we were using this a good bit a while back because it was kind of busted and was doing doing a lot of stuff that I don't think they attended. So people were using it. Nobody's really using it now. I'm trying to think of like a situational sort of thing as to why you would use this. I don't really know. Do you have any?
No, there is only one situation you can use it, but I don't know if you want to go over that or not.
What is it?
To where it could be useful. So, you know why the hunter wears the damage chest piece?
Oh,
Where your
yeah.
counters do more damage.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it
It
works the
works the
same as the
same.
rogue.
So in terms
So
of like it, because it has several procs within it and you've used the daily, like there are certain pieces in the game right now that it increases daily, like increases your damage based on like a daily that you've used or something. Some of them, like the coding on it, I'm not sure that it's like intentional or what, but some pieces of gear will give you additional procs. Like you'll get 12 procs instead of one. But then you like it's really only going to be like those 3 encounters, which I mean that's still significant because
yeah,
you're
it's a
getting those.
very
Yeah.
it's like a very niche and not really worth thing. But that is the only time you would use that daily.
Which also implies you have to use another piece of gear as well. Like if you are running a piece of gear that has those bonuses on there that are working in that manner, which isn't necessarily the best option because like I don't even know if anybody's tested whether the damage like outweighs in terms of like what you gain from the added procs of this versus what you lose from the stats and stuff of like the other pieces of gear that you're dropping off to put that on. Like maybe if you could like still cap all of your stats and then also take advantage of this, it would be worth it. But that's too many math for me. I can't even do the math on a regular day, much less trying to sort it out, coming up with extra crap. Um, Okay, so then the last daily that we have is Lurker's Assault. This is a really more of a, I think it's more AOE situational as well, like as to when you would want to use your Lurker's Assault. Because, like, you're going to get your stuff. I don't even know when you would use Lurker's Assault, to be honest. When would you
It
use this? I don't use
it
it, so
is
I don't know.
more of like an AoE daily because like the single target, like you're not gonna gain any benefit because all the rogues damage, like we're primarily artifact call. We do pretty much all our damage in an artifact call. And yes, we get the 40% damage boost, but the the stealth regen is not we're not gonna gain anything from our artifact core in there. So like you gotta weigh up, is that 40% damage boost on your last 3 encounters? Because you don't use your daily till halfway through the artifact core. So you're only gonna get that 40% damage boost on your last 3 encounters in that artifact core.
Yeah, so the reason he's saying that too is because of the way the game is right now. Pretty much all DPS are running the same sort of mount insignia bonuses that are primarily based around cooldown reduction. So you want to use a set of encounters and then pop your daily, which is going to trigger one of your mount insignia, or multiple of your mount insignia bonuses, which is then going to take those encounters right back off of cooldown because you've reduced your cooldown so much that you can then immediately use them again. So you're basically getting 2 sets of encounters for free because of that, or like one full set for free, when not having to wait for the cooldown of them. So, but what he said, like because of the way this works and because of the way it's set up with your mount insignia bonuses, you're not going to use your daily multiple times and you're only going to use it in the middle. So it's only going to affect those back half 3 encounters that you're going to use. So for single target, the daily that I'm going to use on single target is going to be Hateful Knives. It's my highest magnitude. It's the one I'm using. As far as your mechanics, like obviously we have dodge roll. The rogue's roll is kind of obnoxious. I'm gonna be honest. It's a really good roll. It's a really good dodge as far as like iframing things, but my god, it rolls so far, and sometimes like I roll out of one damage, but I rolled so far I went straight into another damage. Um, so like sometimes it's like, oh god, or like if I like screw up and do something. Okay, so for the most part when you're playing, you want to keep time on target. So whenever you are rolling, you want to, okay, this doesn't work. Targets have a hitbox, like bosses and stuff like that, and generally you can roll into the hitbox and it'll stop you. Like you'll hit the hitbox and just roll in place. This target dummy doesn't do it because it's a little tiny hitbox apparently. But for the most part, you want to roll into the target to maintain time on target when you're fighting on a rogue. There are certain mechanics, like as far as AOE things and damage things that happen on the ground that you do need to roll out of, because the iframe will still hit you and you'll take like a dot or like a big piece of damage on it. Like, I mean, not the like you can still iframe it and survive it, but you'll still get a dot on you. And like sometimes you don't necessarily want to do that. Like take for instance in MSH, if like the low health debuff is up or just something stupid to where that dot's just going to cause you an extreme likelihood of dying, like just roll away in that case. Sometimes you can't roll away far enough to get out of it and you're going to take the damage anyways. Just go ahead and roll towards the boss and keep your time on target up then in those scenarios. There's certain certain places, like such as MTOS, where like if you're on the boss and the second boss. So the second boss of MTOS is like this little dude and he's standing out there and like there's this big bubble behind him, but it's up on a raised stage. So like if you're fighting that boss and a red A, because there's a lot of content in the game these days is not very melee friendly. There's a lot of AoEs that happen directly under the boss that forces melee to immunity frame it or get out of it and things like that. So we do not have the same amount of time on target as a ranged class does that can just stand back and kind of ignore all of those AoEs and things that are going off. So as a melee, you want to focus on doing whatever you can to maximize the time that you are on target. So like if you're constantly, every time something comes up, rolling away from the boss and then having to go back in, or like rolling away from the boss and then rolling back into the boss, like it's just not necessarily the most feasible thing. So like if you can look for ways to minimize that lost time, like such in that second boss, if you're fighting the boss, it's usually held right in the front, right by like the little bubble thing. So as opposed to just running away into vacant free space that's going to put you further away from it, you can roll into the little high wall. So it's technically, so the gain here is what I'll show you right here. So like if I'm fighting the boss and it's right here, and like a red AoE comes up, instead of rolling like way over here and then coming back to this boss, I can just roll into that barrier that's going to stop me right behind me. Because that boss's hitbox isn't really big enough to stop you either, so you want to roll away into that barrier that's going to stop you and then come right back to the boss. Any other tips on that point?
Nope, that's right. Yep.
Okay. So that's typically like how that what that dodge roll is going to do and why you use it and things like that. Is to get out of the reds, it's going to kill you. Use your roll, use your stuff. The rogue also, like people, like you're able to like move while you're like doing stuff in position jumping and things. Like I'm not necessarily very good at that, like other people are. Like it was a lot like with Duelist Flurry and stuff, you were like back on the Assassin Paragon, people were able to like jump before it did that third little thing and reposition. I don't know like how the Whisperknife kind of functions in the same method, but like you don't always have to roll, you don't have to use your dodge to get out of things. You can just move and jump as well. Okay, the next thing is your stealth. We've talked about that. That's your class function. It's your RB button that puts you in stealth. It's your class mechanic, the same as like a fighter has a block, a healer has a mark that is gonna like amplify a single target mark heal on somebody. Wizard has like an increased power on like their fortitude, not fortitude. What spell mastery is the button? Bards, that's their performance mode. Like everybody has a class mechanic. Our class mechanic is stealth, and what that stealth does, it makes you go invisible. You can run past enemies in stealth, so long as you don't hit them, you can generally speaking run past them. It does still put you in combat sometimes because like the enemies are like, what's going on? And it puts like the little question marks above their head, so like they're aware that something happened. They just don't know it's you yet. And so they don't generally attack you. You can stealth and run by them, but it will still put you into combat. And if you do attack you from while you're stealth, you have combat advantage on your target without being behind them, which we said earlier. And then your forte as a Whisperknife rogue, you get the main stat that you get increased to is power, with the two other ones being combat advantage and deflex severity. Okay. As far as your class features, I just up until yesterday was using this one.
That's what you want to be using.
Instead of dagger threat? I mean razor action?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only reason you had razor action because of the very niche things that we were doing.
Yeah, that we were doing. Okay, so if we'll go through and read all of these class features. A lot of these class features are useful in different circumstances depending on what you're trying to do. As far as single target though, specifically, you're gonna be focused on like the tenacious concealment, which is increased stealth regeneration by 50%. And dagger threat, which is your ranged attacks deal up to 10% more damage based on how close you are to your target. So even though I said earlier it allows you like that little leeway to play further away if you need to, as a rogue for the most part, like you want to be close to the target so that you're getting that 10% more damage from your dagger threat by being up the target's butt if possible.
You can be within 20
20
feet,
feet.
so it's
that's
pretty
like
generous.
me to you, right? In the game, 20 feet. How big is 20 feet?
I've got an artifact with. It's got 20 feet.
Okay,
Let me
so you
see.
don't have to be up the target's butt, but you need to be close to it. Close to whatever 20 feet in this made-up game of measurements is.
Yeah, it's the radius of smoke bomb. If you
Okay,
can
so the
see like the
radius
whole
of
length of
smoke
smoke
bomb,
bomb.
that circle that he just did,
So from
that
like
circle that
meter
I
you
just
away.
threw down. Oh, that's actually a big circle. That circle right there. So it was pretty much what I said. So like from me to you right there is like 20 feet. So you don't want to get any further away from the boss than like that amount. This is your slashing blade right there. You need to actually hit the target with it. So you got to move up for that anyways. Okay, so those 2 feats are the ones that I use on single target. We'll look at the other feats just because, like, I'll tell you which ones are AOE as well. Skillful Infiltrator, increase your movement speed by 10%, adds 2.5% deflect and crit strike. This is a very useful feat for AOE. If you are trying to go fast through what you're going to try to do, and if you just got that like super confidence where you're like, man, I want to like eat all the damage that it possibly can. Like you want to be first to the packs of mobs. You want to, but if you're going to get there first, you better be able to kill them, and you better be able to not die. So keep that in mind as well if you're going to run these speed things that get you there before your tank and things like that. This is where you'll use that though, is movement speed is useful in that situation. Sneak attack as well as when you enter stealth, your movement speed is increased by 15% and the cooldown rates of your powers are increased by 10% while stealth. Those 2 things that added together make you run significantly faster. I nobody's running that in single target or anything like that. It's usually only for like a speed loadout of like speed farming, dread ring, and things like that. And then also like if you are just in one of those super sweaty groups where you're trying to like I said, get to all this stuff first and gobble up all the damage for yourself, you're probably going to be running those 2 feats. Tactics increases your action point gains by 10%. Like over the feats that you have available, like it's a good feat, but like over the ones that you have available, it's going to do your damage. There's other sources of you being able to get AP gain and stuff, and unless you're like super struggling, like you're not going to take off the other ones for this. I wouldn't think. He said no. Okay. This one, razor action. When you activate a daily power, you fling daggers up to 30 feet, doing 300 magnitude damage, and increase your speed by 2% per target hit to a maximum of 10%. So situationally, this is just adding 300 magnitude to your powers after you use a daily. It's adding 300 magnitude to your daily.
It don't add 300. It's just a separate 300
Oh, it's a
magnitude hit.
separate 300 proc. So it's a separate hit proc.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So it's a niche type situational thing that you could use. Maybe if you just needed like that little bit of extra oomph or something. But you're not. It's not. No. It's you're not going to use this one. Advantageous position for 2 seconds after leaving stealth, you maintain combat advantage and take 20% reduced damage from AOEs and ranged attacks. What do I run on
You like if
AOE?
like Erica said, like if you want to be fast and you want to be first to the mobs and gobble up all the damage, you would run the first 2 feats, skillful infantry and sneak attack. Whereas like if you're just normal running dungeons with your friends, just having a good old time, advantageous position is good to use because you're not guaranteed to have combat advantage the whole time during AoE. So with this being used, you can guarantee you to have that CA for those 2 seconds. And it does have the additional take 20% reduced damage from area effect. And most of the time, like enemies in AoE or the mobs do like area of effect attacks. So it does help you in that sense. It is a really good class feature for AoE. Um, but it is many options to use. It is more like a personal preference.
Yes. Okay, and then the last one is Talisman of Shadows. I have no idea what this does. I've never put it on. When you enter stealth, you daze and slow all foes in a 20-foot area for 1 second. So that is all you get to do when you wear this. Is when you stealth yourself, you daze and slow things within a 20 that smoke bomb radius for 1 second. Maybe situationally, it could come in handy one day. Like when you use smoke bomb, you're already supposed to be dazing things. It's typically on
It
AOE, like you're running smoke bomb
Yeah, you would
already.
only
Like
use
yeah,
yeah, you would only ever use it AoE. Like it is a cool class feature, but it's that 1 second days and slow is not worth using when in AoE most of the time like things are not gonna stay alive for long and you're gonna have your smoke bomb to do the days. So it's not worth taking.
yeah. Okay. So as far as like just general features down here, I'm a wood elf as I said earlier, so I get my 5% crit strike that it gives me automatically. As a rogue in general, my skill that I get to open for free without the use of a skill node is the thievery kits. Uh, you have a 40% resistance to effects that slow your movement. I honestly don't think that's a true thing because I
That's for
always
Wood
feel
Elf.
oh, just kidding. That's a racial thing. So the two with the leaf, my bad, are the racial things. But I don't think that even works because if I get slowed, I'm always like, oh my god, I'm so slow. I don't feel like that 40% does anything. But I feel like maybe I'd feel a little slower if I didn't have it. I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, but back to like the rogue general thing. Swift footwork. My stamina regens 5% faster than other classes would. Cutting ambusher. So you deal 10% more damage for 5 seconds after you leave stealth. So in addition to all those other things up there, whenever we use like like whenever our encounter actually pulls us out of stealth, for the next 5 seconds, the damage that we do is also going to do 10% more damage because of Cunning Ambusher on it. And then we get 2% combat advantage as a free stat. That's the only thing that a rogue gets. So sad. How sad actually is that?
Buff rogues give us 10% more stats.
Yeah, give us more stats for free like all the other classes give for free. Instead of just 2% combat advantage. Okay, so that is the single target powers, class features, and feats that you'll use. I'm going to flip over to AOE real quick and show you what... Oh, I didn't do it. Hold on. I switched loadouts instead. I mean... This is not going to have those on, but whatever. Okay, so this, as you can see in my AOE, says speed loadout. So I'm on these first 2 feats right here just because I'm specifically got this set up for I want to go fast. So that's why I have those 2 selected. If I didn't have those 2 selected, I would have advantageous position and
Probably skillful.
skillful infiltrator.
Yeah.
Which is the first one. So my movement speed by 10% and crit strike by 2.5% and deflect by 2.5%. So I would lose sneak attack right here and be having on this advantageous position. As far as my At Wills, they remain the same. It's Disheartening Strike and Cloud of Steel. I still want to try to throw a Disheartening Strike if I can, especially at like bigger enemies that might stay alive longer. If it's like more than like a 1 pip or something like that, still try to put that out there on them. You're going to be using Blade Flurry, Path of Blades, and Smoke Bomb for AoE. Blade Flurry being the first encounter that you're going to use. Okay, I gotta stop. We gotta come back down here to your feats. So, like, things are the same on AoE. Like, you're using Shady Preparations. Entering stealth reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds. Dark Reimbursements. When you use an encounter power to leave stealth, you get that instant 25% back. Those are the same. Here, instead of using one with the shadows, where we're going to get that next encounter refill half of it, we're using Return to the Shadows, which is when you activate an encounter power, for each target you hit, you refill 7.5% of your stealth, while behind your target the effect is increased to 10%. So every enemy that you hit with something, when you use an encounter power, it's going to give you like a big chunk. Like, it's going to give you 7.5 to 10% per enemy that you hit. So when you go into a mob and you Blade Flurry or like Blade Flurry is not gonna
Smoke Bomb
yeah,
or
Smoke
Path
Bomb
of
or
Blades.
Path of Blades. All of those are AoE encounters, and like in a pack of blades, in a pack of mobs, when you drop that, you see all those little daggers popping up out of the floor all around me. That's the area of which I'm hitting enemies. So each time that hits, every enemy that it hits, it's giving me back stealth. When I throw my Smoke Bomb down, anything that's in that area of effect right there that I just threw my attack down, it's giving me back stealth right there. So it's like this like endless little loop of encounter your stealth meter's full again, encounter your stealth meter's full again kind of thing. And it works, it synergizes really, really good with this thingy right here, which is Shadowy Opportunity. So when you leave stealth, you gain Shadowy Opportunity for 5 seconds. What Shadowy Opportunity is each of your hit now deals an additional hit of 130 magnitude damage. Okay, so then let's look at this last feat again, which is Ambusher's Haste. So while stealth, your power is still 40% more damage based on how full your stealth meter is. So because we have this Shadowy Opportunity here right now, And then we also have this encounter right here, Blade Flurry. So what this does, you spin and lash out with your weapons, dealing damage to nearby enemies, magnitude of 330. When you use this power from stealth, the radius is increased by 10, so now it's 340 radius, and the power doesn't go on cooldown. So you have used your power, you've now procced your shadowy opportunity, and you've used it to come out of stealth, so you have cunning ambusher on it as well. So, and that power's still up. Like it's not a dead power now because it didn't go on cooldown. So you can do that, get your bonus damage up from the cunning ambusher and from your shadowy opportunity, where you're going to get additional 130 magnitude hits, and then you can go in there and you can drop Path of Blades, and it's instantly going to refill your pack. I mean, not your pack. It's instantly going to refill your meter back up, and then you're going to be able to come back and you're going to be able to Blade Flurry again, just to like consistently always have those things up. Where then now you're going to have shadowy opportunity procced again, and cunning ambusher procced again, and then you can throw your smoke bomb down. If things are going to die super quickly, you can even just like do both of those back to back. If like you're not going to get an additional flurry out in between them, but like if you get them in the 5 seconds and things are dead, then you still have the bonus of it. Can you double up on that? Does it stack
On what?
on your shadowy opportunity and cunning ambusher?
Cunning ambusher used to stack. Yes, I don't know if it still does. And shadowy opportunity, shadowy opportunity won't stack. Like there's nothing to stack.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
you
gonna
don't like
refresh the
it's just a
timer.
wasted thing then. If you use it before the 5 seconds run out, like you're just waiting because it's not gonna stack on top of that, and it's gonna refresh the timer is what you just said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you can get it out, you can do that. Like typically, whenever I'm doing AOE, like I go in, I stealth, I lashing, I smoke bomb. I'm gonna get my I hit in 2 targets right here, so it's gonna take a little bit more time. In that situation, I would have threw my other thing already because it probably would have been dead. Anyways, let me try that again. Okay. I'm going to use Path of Blades to show y'all better because I'm going to get my stealth back. Anyway, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to stealth. I'm going to lashing. I'm going to use an encounter. It's going to hit those targets. My feet automatically have my stealth back. I'm going to stealth again, throw my smoke bomb. If you're in a group that is like decent and in a pack of ads like that, they're dead already for sure in that amount of time. But that's how those like work together in terms of like this doesn't go on cooldown. These things refill my stealth super quickly. I have it again. It's still up right there, and I'm just cycling through all of my stuff like constantly in terms of that. It's also super useful in scenarios that have like the Reapers challenge. Sometimes if you go in there, it has like those little constraints on it that are what are those called? Like the cooldown, the encounter cooldown is a long time. What's the word for those thingies?
Challenge conditions.
Yeah, so it's got like little challenge conditions on them. One of them being that like your cooldown like your encounter power cooldowns are significantly longer on a class, so that you like if I was to just blow my thing right here, it's an 11-second cooldown, and whenever it's the longer one, it's like 20 seconds or something stupid like that. And then this is 12 seconds. This is 13 seconds. So if you're in like a Reaper's challenge that has that condition on it, or even in like the new trial, one of the debuffs that Zastam does on you is like you're not gonna be on this, but I'm just thinking of things that are like situationally where that debuff does exist, where your times are increased. This is not actually feasible in the new trial because you're not gonna be using this. But anyways, having this never go on cooldown, like if you're only using it, you're reducing your cooldown then to only like the 6 seconds or however long it takes for your stealth meter to refill, as opposed to the 20 seconds or however many seconds that it would be otherwise. So instead of like all I have to do is just let my stealth meter refill, and then I have an encounter available to use in the situation, whereas I normally wouldn't if I have those increased cooldowns. if that makes any sense. I think it does. Yeah, but that's the powers and like how you would actually do like the AOE rotations. Basically, just encounter spam based on like your enemies that you're hitting and your stealth refilling and using that flurry and then getting your stuff back and then using your flurry, getting your stealth back. Like it's really that's the gist of AOE.
Pretty much, that is the gist of AOE.
um like those dailies that we were talking about, like Whirlwind of Blades, like you can use that AoE, and if you hit everything, and it gives you like that increased damage after the fact, so you would like literally cunning. I mean, not cunning. What is that thingy? Like you'd stealth, use your this guy, and then use your daily. I don't have it on right there, but like all the enemies that you then hit, now are gonna take more damage. Then you use your other encounters after that. The pace of a lot of dungeons these days, depending on who you're running with. Oh, sometimes you like as a rogue, you don't really have a lot of AP generation, so you really risk unless you're gonna like teleport out and go back to PE or to a practice dummy somewhere, training dummy. Like, oh, sometimes you don't get your daily back before you go into a boss. So like sometimes it's better to like unless you want to make people wait or like whatever, or you know there's like a lot of ads to where you have the potential to get your daily back before you go into a boss, like maybe don't use an AoE daily. I don't know.
Yeah, most end game groups won't use dailies for the most part in AoE because the mobs will die super quick, and like Erica touched on, you don't really want to be waiting to go into the boss fights. Ideally, you want to have your AP already full so you can just automatically go straight into the fight.
There are instances like where like you can use it. There's an artifact in the game. It's called the Envenom Storyteller's Journal. Like a lot of people will run this on AOE, and when you use it, it gives you back AP over a period of time. So in that scenario, if you have an artifact like that, or like the Cleric Sigil, that's a free artifact that's available to anyone in the game that has made a cleric and reach level 20 on it, to where you can go complete that quest to be able to receive your class's artifact. If you have done that, then you can get a cleric. I think they can actually be unbound too, so there may be some on the auction house available as well. But that's another one of those artifacts that can be used in an AOE situation that will give you back some AP. There's also the little green dragon, but like no, I mean nobody like the mythic dragon that has a little bit of AP regen on it and just stuff like that. But for the most part, like I'm hardly, unless I'm like I have an Venom journal, so like I do use my daily sometimes in AOE. But like if I use it and I know like hey, even my Venom journal's not gonna get me back my daily, a lot of times I just don't use a daily in AOE. But if I know I'm about to go through like a whole bunch of ads still, I'm gonna use my daily, and then I'm gonna pop that in Venom Journal.
Yeah, like, and there is gear you can equip, like there is helmets which give you AP when you kill enemies. There's boots you can equip which you gain AP when killing enemies. There's like gloves, for example, where when you hit enemies you gain a percent of your AP back. There's shirts which you get AP back. There is a lot of ways to get your AP back. Like you will sacrifice like a bunch of your damage for that, but the damage you're gonna gain from even putting out a daily in AoE to sacrifice all that stuff is not worth, like you don't save any time. This is speaking of end game groups. Like there is no time saved, or there's no benefit or use to pop your dailies in AoE for the most part.
Sorry, I had to pick up that box because it was bugging me with its like noise that it kept doing. Okay, so that is the gist of your powers on both single target and AOE. Um, as far as a single target rotation goes, let me get a daily. Oh my god, what if I mess this up? I feel like I need clarification real quick. Okay,
Right, so
I got stage fright now. Okay, so I'm gonna come into a boss. You know, like if you go into a boss, for the most part, there's gonna be an artifact call that's pretty close to the beginning of it. Sometimes there's like a mechanic that you need to let play out, like in like MSOD, for example. Like you don't just go in there and pop your artifact immediately because it does. The boss does like a mechanic where you need to be away from her, and there's several artifacts that are close range artifacts, and then obviously like your melee can't start hitting immediately because if they go in that AOE and they don't iframe it correctly, they're going to get knocked off the map. And they're going to get a big dot on them, and it's going to do damage, and they risk just dying entirely. So everybody generally just stands away and lets that mechanic play out, and then we move into the boss, and then we drop. So in that scenario, like when we go into a boss, first things first, I'm going to Disheartening Strike. I'm going to throw a couple of Cloud of Steels just to kind of get my stacks going and stuff. I've waited a little while to talk just now. But anyway, so I would throw Disheartening, throw a couple of those, use my artifact, Stealth, that little guy, do a whole rotation. I can't talk it through as I'm doing it. Stealth daily. I missed my mount before that. Hold on, I have to start over.
yeah.
Time out. Time out, guys. You want to throw your mount before you throw your daily. It's hard for me to talk and do it, okay? I'm not that smart.
Well, you just do it and I'll say it.
Okay, that'll work. Hold on, I'm taking my daily back 37 years later. Throwing daggers over here. It's actually going to be Owlbear Mount Stealth Daily is what I'm going to do whenever I do it.
Yeah.
Give me just a second, though. Alright, so here we go. Go. Ready?
Yeah. So, Sanding Strike, you play the steals, Artifact Stealth, Shadow Strike, Lashing Blade, Smoke Bomb, Owlbear, Mount, Stealth, Daily, Shadow Strike again, Lashing Blade, and then Smoke Bomb to finish it.
Boom. And there was my second sod. So that is the typical single target rotation, utilizing all of the encounter cooldowns that I have set up, both between my feats and everything, as well as my mount insignia bonuses, to where I'm able to use 2 rounds of encounters and getting 2 sods and 1 artifact call. So that's a lot of damage as opposed to where we used to sit on the rogue only being able to do like 1 set of encounters and an artifact window there, with all of these cooldown reductions and things that have been introduced into the game.
Yeah, you should go over the mounts now to
Yes.
show what the powers are and how they synergize with it.
Okay, so as your mount things on single target, the appearance is obviously whatever mount you want to ride around. I ride around on this super cool teal crag cat because it's my favorite, and he looks cool. Doesn't do anything significant to your character other than you look cool. Okay. As far as your combat power, you want to as a damage dealer, you want to use a high magnitude single target hit here. If this is your single target loadout, there's several options of those where you have like the giant toad, you have Big B's hand, you have this Gravehound that was just came out, you've got Grubshank, you've got that Infernal
Golden
War
Warhorse.
Machine, you've got the Golden Warhorse. There are a lot of mounts now that have a high magnitude hit that is a possibility to be used here. As as a rogue, you're a physical damage dealer. Certain mounts buff certain types of damage. So you want to use a physical buffing mount as well as a high magnitude one for best case scenario. Like if you don't like if you can't like come up with one of those or whatever, like and you just like if you just have a toad, like put the toad on. It's better than anything else that you're gonna put on in that scenario. You want that high magnitude hit. Owl bears, if you're like a newer player to the game, owl bears are um, a common mount that comes at like purple, I think, for most of them that has tunnel vision on it. So that's like one of your first starter little mounts that you can get that is that high magnitude hit. It's obviously not going to do as of a hit as it could possibly do until you have everything fully ranked up and maxed out. I don't recommend like putting that onto an owl bear. Like over the course of you growing in the game, you're going to come across better mounts and things, and or be able to like acquire them on your own via the trade house, or like if you do invest in the game in terms of VIP, you might get lucky and pull one out of one of your lockbox keys or something like that. Those are the ones that are going to be more significant to you as a physical damage dealer DPS. The ones that are in the game right now that are physical buffing ones are Big B's Hand, I can't hear you.
Oh, they don't buff physical. They get buffed by
Oh,
physical.
sorry,
They
they do.
scale with
Sorry, yeah,
physical.
I said that backwards. So the damage that they do, like as a mount power, it is scaled based on what kind of like damage you are or whatever. And so like Big B's Hand is a physical mount. So because I have strength, like I'm gonna go into, we didn't talk about any of that, but like I'm gonna go into strength, and that's gonna be making my physical damage be more. So the more strength and stuff I have, obviously it's making my mount do more damage because it's a physical mount. And if you look at what that is right here, it's physical damage boost. So the more like things that you have buffing physical as a physical damage dealer, like it's also buffing that mount that deals physical damage. And it's vice versa for like magic dealers and things like that as well. They use this junk down, whoops, wrong one, intelligence, where it's magical damage boost. So like they would obviously be feeded into intelligence over strength, and they're going to be buffing mounts that are scaled based on magical. We are strength and we're physical, which physical mounts are the Big B's Hand, um, the Grave Hound,
And I'm sure Grubshank is physical also.
and the Grubshank mount. So this little guy right here, hold on. Oh, he's already up right there. So what he does, this is the newest one that is allegedly the best one to use right now.
For everybody, yeah.
Is it for everybody? Is it better? It's not technically better than Grubshank though, is it?
Let me double check.
Grubshank does like the extra
Because
magnitude.
Grubshank did give more magnitude. Well, they both give extra magnitude. Grubshank is 4,005 4,626.
Yeah, so Grubshank has the higher magnitude. However, Grubshank's cast is actual hot garbage. Like it is like not cool at all. This one has a much smoother cast and it's easier to get it off in a call. And don't you have to use Grubshank like before? Hold on.
It's so to get the full effect of Grubshank, like it lasts 5 seconds. So you want that dot it does in the artifact core. So if you can get the Grubshank out and have that dot fully in the artifact core, like yeah, the Grubshank would be better. But like you said, like the animation is not so great, and the way the rogues rotation works is slight possibility that you're not going to get all that damage within the artifact core.
Yeah, so the way Grubshank works is he does a
And it won't
magnitude
fit in
hit,
your sword either.
and then it applies a dot as well. So that dot has to play out for the full duration of the 5 seconds to get that total magnitude added to your overall total magnitude. So you have the hit of the actual hit, and then that dot damage that will add up over 5 seconds. So all of that has to fit into everything for it to be worthwhile. I personally do not like the Grubshank mount, just in general. I don't like the cast of it. It is very slow, like it's clunky feeling, and it is just not like. Okay, it didn't seem that bad, but trust me, in combat, I don't like it.
Yeah, when you try and do encounters and stuff afterwards, it's a bit of a
It like
pain.
kind of like locks you there for just like a second, and then you have to like. I just don't like it. Big B's Crushing Hand is the other one. It as well. Like not the magnitude of it. The animation of this one is not like to cast it is often harder because it's very easy to cancel, and like you can't go into it like until like your animation of whatever you're doing also finishes. It seems like. So it's just like a clunky mount. Overall, out of those three, like the Gravehound has a significantly smoother cast. It has the higher of the magnitude out of it, and the Big Beast hand, so it's better than that already. And then as far as like the Grubshank, it's in my opinion better because like I'm a sped as well, so there's no guarantee I'm going to do everything in the artifact window. I don't want to mess it up and risk half of it not even being in it. So I want all my damage up front, which is why I use the Gravehound. That mount was obtainable through one of the lock boxes. It's the current lock box that's out right now, I think.
No, it was the
No, it
last
was the
lockbox.
last lockbox. So the only way you're going to get that right now is either buying lockboxes off the auction house because you can't get the lockboxes in the game anymore. So you would have to buy lockboxes and pop keys for it, or buy it from someone else that did via the auction house or trades in game. They may be pricey. I don't know the different markets of different consoles and different platforms. They're obviously higher. Xbox has the lower marketplace of the three platforms, and here that mount is. Hold on, I'll tell you. This is like your ultimate goal though, is to have this right now. This is not by any means a necessity. Like there are other options and significantly cheaper options as well. 2.98 over here on Xbox, unless you get real lucky and get it for a key. Okay, as far as your equip power, I'm on quick action right now just because we're doing stuff and things. Generally, that's going to be a stat that you need on your thing, or in certain circumstances, like you will use a damage power right here, such as Providence or do we use Ferocity anymore?
Not in the situations that we're in. So for the most part, MSOD, you're going to want to use Providence. Anywhere else, if you're able to reach your stat caps, you want to use quick action. Because as stated earlier, like rogue AP is not so great. So having that quick action, like you're going to have your daily ready for the next artifact call.
Yes. Otherwise, if you're not able to reach stat caps, you'll want to put whatever stat there. What does that Gravehound look like? Oh, this is it. Nope. Yeah. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. You'll want to use whatever
Infernal times.
stat bonus is gonna put you up to. Like before, I had quick action on up until yesterday. I was using crit strike on my rogue because I needed that extra crit strike to cap. But then when I say we, I mean Lou, because he's very smart with stats. Helped get that sorted out to where I was able to switch to quick action and still have my stuff available, my stats. Okay, so with the last new update came Celestial Insignias and Celestial Mounts. Like the end game goal here is to have 10 Celestial Mounts in your stable and a full set of celestial insignias. You don't have to have those by any means to play the game. That's just your ultimate goal, like of trying to reach that like pinnacle level of gear and such right here. The bonuses as a rogue that I use, that we were talking about earlier. So Tactician's Precision. When you use a daily power, your encounter cooldowns are decreased. It is decreased by a number of seconds that I don't know. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
It's 5.
Okay, so 5 seconds. So one Tactician's, when you use your daily power, you shave 5 seconds off of the cooldown of your encounters. This bonus is able to be stacked, like you can put on another Tactician's. The second Tactician's, though, does not gain the benefit of the 5 full seconds. It's cut in half, I think.
Yes.
Yes. So if you run 2 Tacticians, when you use a daily power, you trim 7.5 seconds off of your cooldowns. So if you look at my stable, I currently have 2 Tacticians on. So when I use my daily, I'm trimming 7.5 seconds off of my existing encounters that are on cooldown right now. The other one this is pretty standard too across all DPS classes. It's not just the rogue right here for these ones. Most DPS in the game right now, if they have the mounts available to do this, they are using 2 Tacticians and a Cavalries. And also some of them are using an Artificers as well. But I'm using 2 Tacticians for the 7.5 seconds, and then I have Cavalry's Haste, which when you use a mount power, it reduces your cooldowns by 4 seconds. So if you saw whenever I did my rotation, I did my mount, and then I did my daily right after that. And I was able to literally bring my 12-second encounter cooldowns that I had just used completely off of cooldown by using these things. It's not necessary to have 2 Tacticians if you don't have a mount available to get that second one. You can still get the 2 sods with just 1 Tactician. It just doesn't have very much room for will you get everything in it still?
Yeah, you could still do your rotation. Just having the 2 is just more comfortable.
Yeah, like you like if you have to shift or anything like that will take you out doing something, like it's just you have a lot more time to work with in that scenario, I guess. Because like you don't want to be stuck waiting on a cooldown that maybe has like 1 second left on it or 2 seconds left on it. You want everything up and ready to go whenever it's time to hit them. I use, just because of the way my stats and my insignias and my gear and everything's working out right now, I have to use an Executioners to meet my stat caps. What that does is it adds offensive rating to me, so I get you get, so I trade 1500 awareness, crit avoidance, deflect, and defense. So I give up some of my defensive stats, but I gain accuracy, combat advantage, crit strike, and crit sev. I gain 4 offensive for a trade-off of 4 defensive. It's not significant in terms of defense, like your defensive stats, like where if you are running an Executioners, you've just signed yourself some sort of death sentence or something because you're going to be like super crazy squishy. It's 1.5% of each one of those things. I like this is also a bonus that is stackable. Like you can run multiple Executioners. You don't always yield the best result doing that. Like it's better to probably run like an Executioners and a Menders, because again here you give up defensive stats and you gain offensive stats. Like as a DPS, outgoing healing is not a useful stat to you, but power, crit strike, and crit sev are useful stats. And you gain more of those stats by running a Mender's Covenant than you would by running a second Executioners. Because just like the Tacticians, you don't get the full bonus of this. It cuts it in half again, I believe. If you run 2 of them,
Yes.
you're only getting 750 of that. Wait, no. 1,500.
It's
750
750, yes.
of the stats instead. Whereas if you just put this on, you get 1,500. You're just not getting accuracy and combat advantage. Instead, you're getting power, crit strike, and crit step. But not very many people have to run double ones of those anymore if you're in game and you've reached that, like, have this gear, because the gear has a tremendous amount of stats on it these days, and we've got stats out the wazoo on our insignias with them being fully ranked up, and we gain a lot of stats like in a group as well because we have a lot of, like, we're building groups these days around, like, supporting the group as a whole instead of just being purely selfish. Like, we're bringing things to the group to help the whole group, as opposed to I'm going in there and I'm just going to only run what is going to make me do, like, super crazy everything. Like, we want our group to be better as a whole, as opposed to one single person being super selfish kind of thing. The other power, like the other insignia bonus that I have on is Enchanter's Hex. It does a separate proc of damage whenever I use a control power. So let me read what that says. Enchanter's Hex. When you use an encounter power or daily power with a control effect on a target, you deal an extra 50 magnitude damage to that target. The effect does not stack. Things that I have that do a control power, like Smoke Bomb will proc it. That's really it, because like Impact Shot will proc it if you stealth it, but like you don't really want to stealth your Impact Shot, so that don't really count. So Smoke Bomb is procking. Smoke Bomb is what I have on that's going to be procking Enchanter's Hex and giving me that 50 extra magnitude for each tick of the Smoke Bomb, right?
Yeah, and the only other encounter that will proc it, but we don't use it, but just to clear up, the ones that can use proc it is Vengeance Pursuit, because when you stealth that, it does do a stun also, but we do not use it.
Yeah. There were a couple of powers that were like situational in here, like that I didn't talk about earlier, like bait and switch. Like, there's times where you can use that, like, like we were just like experimenting with it last night, doing things where, like, maybe if you want to go just like turn on a door or something before you kill things so that you can just run through it, you can stealth run up, pop out this, like, use bait and switch, and it throws a decoy out, and then you can go touch the door, and then all of the enemies, whenever they decide they're going to attack something, they're going to go attack your little decoy instead of you, and you can generally, like, open doors and things in that sense. So that's a kind of a little niche, useful encounter there that you can run for stuff like that. um, Shadowy disappear. This is the one that people like move all around with, right?
To try and climb up
Yeah, like
ledges and
those
stuff.
people who are trying to do all the parkour and the zones and stuff as a Whisperknife, and you see crap where people end up like in walls and on top of buildings and just like all over the place. They're doing that on a rogue using Shadowy Disappearance, on the Whisperknife Paragon, doing that kind of thing. It's not really useful, like, in combat. I don't think at all anywhere.
No, it's not used as like an attack.
Yeah. So really, like, just like little niche things. If you just wanted to have some fun doing things, those two powers would be a usable thing. Um, Mounts, insignia bonuses. There's several lists out there. I think Aragon made a video that shows, like, mounts with the upgrades that just came in order for you to be as efficient as possible, because it's costly, like, getting to this point in terms of upgrading your insignias and upgrading your mounts. I think he has like a document out there or a video or something like that, doesn't he?
Yes, there is a Google Doc
Yeah, that shows,
with
like,
what mounts do everything
so you can kind of get an
and all that
idea of like
jazz.
which ones you want to upgrade for the specific bonuses, but that also coincide with things that you'll use otherwise, like whether it be like uh, a equip power or something, like a stat power, or like whether it's got quick action or something on there that also coincides with like insignia bonuses that you would use. So I recommend checking that out if you are interested in learning about those. These are the ones that I've used on this account that I have in my stable for the bonuses that I have. For tacticians, I think there's only 4 mounts in the game that do give that. 2 of them are so Demon Wings and the Bestial Fire Archon came out of a lockbox. The other 2 were an event mount, I'm pretty sure. And that's going to be the Butterfly Wings.
I think it's the dark butterfly wings and could be the
It's
Neverwinter
the
hand.
Neverwinter hand. So the Neverwinter hand and the Dark Butterfly Wings are the other 2. I think that's the only 4 that there are that give Is there more that give tacticians now that I don't know of, like the newer mounts and stuff that came out?
It could be updated. I'll have to tell you right now. No, there's quite a few.
Oh, just
So
kidding then. Lucky day.
yeah, so there's Bestial Fire Archon, Dark Butterfly Wings, Demon Wings, Grubshank, Neverwinter's Hand, the Regal Cobra, the Skyhold Throne, which is from the Advent vendor,
That's from the
and
appointment vendor.
yeah, and the Twice Pale Adler
Okay,
or
so
Alder, sorry.
like it's all going to be a combination of either a lockbox mount that's been released or an event mount that has come and gone. Some of them you can't buy them anymore. Like put they put a lot of these mounts in the Summerfest to where like it was a grindable sort of thing where you could get just like the Neverwinter hand you can still get from Summerfest, even though it was a Jubilee mount whenever it initially launched. And like generally when those events come back around, you have the option to buy them again. The Regal Cobra was the New Year's event, so like if you're just looking for a mount and then in like the meantime to get something that's probably not going to be super expensive, it's probably going to be that. But I don't know if it's actually here anymore because I saw that people were saying that it bound to account. So hold on. Okay, so this is probably the cheapest option of all of them though, and it's still kind of expensive. I thought it was going to be less than that, but here you see if you are just looking for a tactician's mount sort of thing. Honestly, I don't know if I would say buy this or if I would just save up a little bit more and get one of the other options because I don't know how much they all are. You have to price check all that stuff. But those are the options. Again, all that information can be found in those documents, like that Google Doc that Paragon has for both your mount insignias, and then he also has a document that shows like the most efficient kind of things as far as the upgrade stuff. Okay, mounts. We did mounts. On AOE, as far as your mount, whenever you're doing that, you're going to want to use something that just does like some sort of AOE damage, whether that's in the form of a carpet. And like I like to use carpet because I'm a rogue. Like I want to group things up and I want to drop like my powers right smack in the middle of them so that I'm hitting all of them and I'm doing damage to as much stuff as possible. If they're all spread out, I don't have like as high a likelihood of hitting all of them. So I go like I like to throw the carpet, group them up, and then do my stuff like right on top of them where I've grouped them up. So that's typically what I use in AOE is the carpet. There's other mounts that have the same sort of effect as that, such as the Twice Pale Adler, which does like a little whirl, like a cyclone looking thing. It's purple. It's all on your screen. It turns your whole screen purple. The
Space Guppy.
the space guppy, the little fish school will do a little sucking action like that thing too. That little what's that guy that's like the little quicksand guy?
Uh,
I forget what
I
his
don't know,
name
not off the
is.
top of my head.
Dang it. There's another one that does it, but I forget what he's called. Some other AOE things like there's a mount. It's got Hot Streak on it. What mount is that? I forget. Hot Streak.
is right underneath. Yep, next row. Yep. Again, oh, I'm just
There
gonna
you
wait for you
go.
to get
Here
it.
it is. Hot streak. The bestial fire archon was that one. So this is one like you'll have this AOE if you do obtain this in terms of getting it for tacticians. It attacks enemies in a line, leaving magma pools behind that deal periodic damage and weaken enemies. So it's making them take more damage as well as actually doing like a magnitude of 525 on everything it hits, and then a 604 in the lava pools over 10 seconds. Other options are like the Pegasus. The Pegasus has like a little bit of a knockback to it. So sometimes maybe not the best. Like if like the Pegasus and the wings mount, like oh my god, nothing's worse on a melee than going in and like dropping your smoke bomb and then somebody blasting wings and blowing every single enemy out of your smoke bomb. Like those kind of mounts, I hate them, but people use them. It's whatever. Sometimes they're good. You can knock enemies off the map with them. Like it works out. It's just I prefer to group things up, and for the most part, like the groups that I play with, like they also are using things that like group things up so that we can just kill them all faster because where we are in the game right now, it's super easy to kill the mobs. So just kill them and move on rather than trying to work out some grand plan to knock them off the map or evade them or something like that. Just put your effort into killing them. The Rex is also like it's a mount, like it goes out and it does like this roar, and this is if none of the targets are minions. It'll go out and it'll do a roar and it'll like debuff all of them to where like they're taking more damage. It's not the greatest of the options, but it is an option. But if it's like minions and stuff, he'll also go out there and he'll just eat one of them, which is sometimes useful if you want to see somebody get eaten. I don't know. What other AOE mounts are there? Let's see. The cauldron will debuff everything if you wanted to run a cauldron. It'll debuff everything in the circle that it hits. Spills on them. There's that little thingy that does like the little rain down. What is that? It's like a stag of some sort. What's that one? I don't just any mount that's like doing AOE sort of thing you can run in AOE. I prefer carpet to group things up, or a mount that's going to be grouping things up. So that's what I run is carpet. Um, so what did we do? So we did character. No, we did powers. We did mounts. As far as companions go, as a DPS on single target, I don't even have a companion. As far as single target goes, on all DPS for the most part, they are running at least 4 of these same mounts. A Batiri for single target damage. This companion can be gotten free in the game if you farm Merchant Princess Folly Skirmish. It's a drop in there. It has the potential to drop, so you can earn it from there. It comes at green, so you would have to put some tokens into upgrading it to its maximum potential of Celestial. But this is a purely single target mount. Like it does 13, it makes you do 13.5% more damage to bosses. So this is kind of like at in game, like a must have for a single target. The other one is going, you can also get this in, I think it was in like a pack at some time where it was an account wide version. So if you played multiple characters, it may be worth it to save up and maybe invest in an account wide version. I don't think it can be bought as an account wide version from any of the existing stores or like trade the Zen store or anything right now. But keep an eye on it over time as well. And like if it does come back, like you're aware of that potential of it of being an account wide thing. In addition to that, a lot of these mounts they're released sometimes in the battle passes, in the box, like the companion packs in the boxes. So just over time, keep an eye on like what you have the options to pull out and stuff there. Also, because a lot of the times it's like an account version whenever that stuff does happen. So Batiri, like regardless of what order you've got him in on your page and all of that stuff, Batiri, Minsk, he's 6.8 to 9.8% damage versus strong enemies. That's like four pips or higher or something like that.
Free
Three
pips.
pips. 3 pips or higher. So the more dangerous, so the more pips it does, the higher like the more amount of damage you're gonna be doing to that thing. So Batiri, Minsk, Neverwinter Night is just straight out you got 9% more outgoing damage. And then in game groups with the way the game is right now, some people will try to tell you otherwise because they're just so hell bent on it. But the majority of players, the fourth companion here that is like a non-negotiable sort of thing is going to be the tame velociraptor. And that's because it gives, if you read what it says you and any allies that are part of the pack gains 4.5% power. So what this means is if you have this on and you're in a group of 5 people, you in turn are getting 4.5% power from each one of those other players for a total of, I can't do math. How much power? Let me add it up. 18%. 18% power from one companion. Like, that's a lot. That's like the single most return on a companion of any stat that we have in the game. So it is just silly to not run it, honestly. But there are the people out there who are like very we don't need raptors, like we've got stats everywhere, and you can make a build work without them. It's just so much easier to just run the raptor and gain the benefit of all those free stats that they just want to give people that have a raptor. It can be obtained through both the Reaper Marks store. I think it's 30 Reaper Marks. Hold on. I gotta travel for a second so I can go confirm this. And you can get, so if you just do the Reaper challenge for a month, if like you're just working on building up your toon and your your account and things like that, you can run the Reaper's challenge and get those Reaper Marks each day. When it's double seals, you actually get 2, so you want to make sure you're always, I got the hiccups, I'm sorry. You always want to make sure you're doing those Reaper challenges when it's double seals for sure, because instead of just getting 1 seal, you get 2. And if you look here, one of these boxes, this one right here, it's got a tame velociraptor in it for 30 Reaper's Marks, and it's an account-wide version. So you can get it for free in the game just by playing the content on a daily basis and earning those marks. Otherwise, you can buy account-wide versions from the Zen, not the Zen store, from the what's that thingy, the trade house for AD in game. And then additionally, if like you're a lockbox enthusiast and stuff like that, I think there's one in the trade. I might be making that up. Let me see. Yeah, you can buy a version of the tame velociraptor from the trade bar store as well. However, this version comes at purple, and it is a single use companion. It's not account wide, so once you equip it, you only have it on that character. It does not go into your reclaimed agent. But those 4 are pretty much the typical 4 that all DPS are going to have on in the game. Your 5th companion that you're going to run, depending on your build specifically, is either going to be a stat companion or a 5th damage companion. It's like, it's situational. It's highly situational per your build. Like there's no one size fits all right here. I personally am running the combat advantage, the golden cat. It's one of those mythic companions that can go in any slot on here. It works out well because I'm able to put it in that utility slot when it wouldn't necessarily go there otherwise. So that's what I'm running. Some other options that people running instead, like that I see commonly, are like the alchemist, which is like a super cheap companion that drops like freaking candy out of the Winterfest, and like like all of those things that have like those little, what is that other thing? The Saha balls and like the event things that have those little companion drops and stuff. You'll see those alchemists dropping a lot out of there. What else is a good stat? Like the book amp, he's got good stats on him. What?
The Dark Dealer, but that's a Zen companion.
Like the like split stat kind of things would be like the like that sortial and just whatever stat you need there. Like find a companion that will help you get your stats if you still need stats, and put it in that fifth hole there. If you don't need the stats, then you'll run a fifth damage companion, which is going to be like the golden, like the lion companion. Is a damaging companion. That little dude that looks like a whistle that I can't remember what he's called.
The Vicious Direwolf.
The Vicious Direwolf. Like this is a damaging companion. What are the other ones that are good on the rogue specifically?
Well, for the utility slot,
Yeah.
that's it for like magnitude damage hits. But like you said, like with stats, like there's a lot. Like you got the Wolf for crit save, you got the Alchemist for CA crit strike, Book Imp for accuracy CA. You got the Golden Cat, which is expensive, but that's just straight CA. There's a lot of options. Like you just find the stat you need and go with that, or just go for those magnitude comps that
Yeah, so
just got listed.
this either the Celestial Lion's Presence, which is the stalwart, no wait, the Swift, no, yeah, Swift Golden Lion, no. Which one is this? What's his name? What's the companion's name? Hold on.
Stalwart.
Stalwart. This guy, Stalwart Golden Lion, is the companion that grants that. It's in like those mag boxes. I don't know how much those sell on the trade house for or anything. The mag companion boxes, and then also like all of these companions, like those that have like chances to drop out of content, and then also like I think Juma's bags have a high chance to drop some of, like, not a high chance, but can drop some of these things also, as far as like just earning them in game. It might take you a really long time to get it, but it's possible. And then the other one was that Vicious Direwolf. He's like the cheapest option, I think, because he comes at green and drops a lot during events and stuff. So like there's just a larger quantity of them in the game. So I think he's just cheaper and easier to get if you want to use that one. I think the lion might be better. Which one's the better magnitude comp? Lou? Oh no, he left me to my own devices. I don't know the answer. I need to drink some water. I've talked a lot. Hold on. By water, I mean Dr. Pepper. That's the companions though that you'd want on your back page. And then as far as a summon companion, like I said earlier, like the way the game is going right now, we're really focused on group buff sort of things. So typically if you're running in a group of 5, like the companions that you're gonna have is going to be a tutor, a dritz, a BDS, a spine devil, and a flapjack. So tutor, dritz, spine devil, and flapjack are the 5 that are typically run in-game 5-man content. I have all 5 of those as a possibility to run. Like, you don't have to have all 5 of them. Just try to have one of them if at all possible. Some other options for things as far as like in a 10-man setting, like you add in extra ones like that, which are going to be like you have Sartell, which gives some crit sev. You have Portobello. Oh wait, I said that wrong. Portobello's in a 5-man group too. I don't know what I put in there extra. Maybe the BDS. I can't remember. I might have only named 4 for all I know. But Portobello is a good one as well. As far as like which one's gonna do like that you kind of want to steer your DPS to is the ones that's going to do damage more so than the others. Like the tutor is a really like it is a good damage companion as well. It's gonna put out a decent amount of damage. And Black Death Scorpion is also one of the higher damage ones out of the options of ones that you'll run. So typically you'll see DPS on those if they have them over the support on those. As far as AOE, if you're just running around, Regis is a good companion. He's the best companion for AOE, I believe. To just do AOE version, like through the AOE sections of dungeons and things like that. Just go ahead and check Regis on if you have him. If not, I think the Air Archon is like the next one that's like a relatively like easy to come by one as well. That's not as expensive. There may be like some of the newer ones and stuff. I haven't looked at the list in a while, but I know Regis is still like pretty high up there. So he's from the Companions of the Hall pack that they release every now and then through the Zen store. So it's like a premium item. Again, it's not like you don't necessarily have to pay it for it with real money. Like you are able to earn in-game currency in this game over time of playing it via doing your dungeon queues and refining your AD. It just takes time. And so like you could save up to buy that over the course of time and not have to actually invest money into the game to do so. Depending on what we're running, like sometimes I don't even put on Regis and I just keep whatever like stat companion on that I have on. It just depends if I'm lazy or not. But if you want an optimal situation right there, you chuck on an AOE damage dealer of the companion options. As far as like my equipment, like I'm running Thane equipment, which is the highest level equipment that we have right now. It's the most expensive of the options. The companion gear that is from Mount Hotenau is a lot cheaper if you just buy it, and you can farm it a lot easier as well. It's not the highest option, but like that is an option as well. You'll want to run whatever stats on your companion gear that give you what you're looking for in terms of balancing your stats as a DPS. As a DPS, obviously you want to prioritize your stats of power. You want to have as many of your stats capped as possible of those offensive stats being power, accuracy, combat advantage, crit strike, and crit sev. Power, combat advantage, crit strike, and crit sev are the 4 that you really want to cap, and then you want to get accuracy as high as possible. You should be able to come close to capping all of them at a max in-game build. This video is going so long. What time is it? It's 7:36. Is anybody posted?
I think I did say be right there like about half hour ago.
Okay. Oh no. So real quick, as far as gear that you're gonna want to run, like for single target right now, this is what I have on. I have on this helmet from the new the new trial MSH, a chest piece from MSOD. This is giving me crit strike, crit sev. These arms are from MSOD. These are the newest weapons. All DPS should go to the new zone and go farm your weapons. They're the best weapons in slot right now for DPS, and you get them in game by just farming. You have to run content to upgrade them past legendary, but you can get them all the way to legendary just by doing the quest and stuff in the zone. But to go to Mythic and Celestial, you have to actually be able to run Advanced to go to Mythic, and advanced soul harvest, and then to go from mythic to celestial, you have to be able to run soul harvest. I have on these boots from Inside, which are the stat boots that gives you the 10 or the however many percent. Oh my god.
5% power, crit strike, and crit save.
Yeah, I have these on right now because I don't have the same for the helm. I don't have the celestial helm. I don't have the celestial damage boots from Inside. Once I get those items, I will be equipping those items. I think, did I put the celestial chest on as well? Let's go back to the stronghold
No.
real quick. So Lewis, let's look at him because he's like actually the place where I want to get to in terms of my build. He has all of his gear already, so I'm just gonna inspect him instead as like an endpoint there. Be still. So he's got the celestial helm, which is the combat advantage helm. It's just like you get that straight combat advantage based on your hit points. You don't have to wait for it to proc up or anything like that, whereas mine is a proc. He's got on the same chest piece as me, the crit strike, crit sev one. The arms are the accuracy arms for a single enemy. Like when you're in combat with a single enemy, you gain accuracy every 2 seconds, up to 8%. His weapons are already upgraded to celestial, and these are the weapons from the MSH or from the new zone that are upgraded through all the way through celestial through running soul harvest. He's got the damage boots on from Inside. And then because of the like way the stats are and stuff, like he's actually, and I currently also have, like, we're able to run a broken set that, so we're not really gaining any benefit from a set bonus by doing this. However, if you look at the set on it, we're gaining 3 strength on the neck and 3 strength on the waist. So we're gaining +6 to strength using this set, which is physical damage bonus. So over the options of like what we have right now for stats, because we're able to get our stats otherwise, we're able to use this broken set to just buff our damage overall, sort of thing. Did I say that right?
Yeah, because like we're gaining more item level, whereas like the other set we would use would be the Shroomwood Masterwork set, which gives you total of 7.5% accuracy, and it gives you the 15% recharge speed.
Yeah,
Let me
maybe. I don't know.
I'm not sure it's 15. Yeah, and 15% recharge speed. But with the rogue, like everyone kind of powers are pretty slow to come back. So to guarantee keeping that masterwork set up the whole time is pretty tough. Whereas like the way I've built specifically, like I don't have to rely on that, and I can still cap my accuracy. Hence why going for the broken neck and waist the same way as how rangers do it.
Yes. And then, so as far as rings, like he's got on stat rings just based on like what stats he needs. With regards to all this gear he's got on, he's running the crit strike ring and the crit sev ring. The crit sev ring from Advanced Soul Harvest, the crit strike ring from Master Soul Harvest. Both of these are available to purchase, like on the auction house by other players that have ran this content. They're not super expensive. I don't think. I think the more expensive one is the crit sev one, and it's like it's under a mil, but like these items right here are in-game items where like they're sellable in the game as well. So if you aren't able to get into that content but are able to save up a little bit of AD through doing all of your stuff and refining each day, like you can work towards getting one of those. The shirt and pants are from Master
Shackles of
Shackles
Divinity.
of Divinity. Oh my gosh. So the shirt is a damage shirt that is increasing your damage. And the pants are combat advantage pants from there. They have a set bonus on them as well. Let me inspect. Where like if you're running the both the shirt and the pants of it, you get 2% combat advantage. And then they have like obviously like all the stats on them and stuff also. You want to run the higher artifacts of like the higher level artifacts that they have the higher combine rating on them, and these like offensive stats also, which is gonna be like the demon skull, the night flame sensor, and the arma Aegon that came from the event last the egg the chicken thingy, the April Fowls event. All of these can be purchased on the trade house again. Like they're from older lockboxes. The Demon Skull and the Night Flame Sensor were from an older lockbox. So again, like you could pop keys if you're into that, or like just save up and buy them eventually. Um, that's how those things work. There's two artifacts that are battle pass artifacts that came from doing those, such as the Sealing Parchment and then the Crimson Calamity, that just have the high item level on it. It's only going to give you like one offensive stat there, but it's giving you some combined rating that makes it better to just use that over the other stuff also. So that's typically like what you'll see on there. Um, there's obviously like this is like the end goal. Not everybody's gonna have this stuff. Like there's plenty of options otherwise, as far as if you don't have these things. Like right now I'm not wearing these things. I'm just using like the next best item from stuff as I built my way up to that. As far as the helm goes, there is, ooh, I didn't like look into this, but like I think, I don't know if like the current, what's that place called? The current arena like has a bunch of gear in there that might be sufficient. The seal trader, like there's options for gear in the game that will tide you over and give you item level and stuff to be able to get into content to where you can work towards earning these things. So just like going through like the collections and things like that is will help you out in terms of like identifying what stats and such that you want to look for on pieces of gear in the meantime. And then also like as you're progressing through leveling up, like going through certain content, like each one of those dungeons, like MDWP, MIC, MLOM, like all of those, if you're playing through like that kind of thing and progressing up through there, they all had their own sets of armor that were best in slot at the time. So like just equipping through things in those orders, as well as you're going through what you can go through and what you can earn, like that is the system of progression in that sense until you reach the point of being able to get these things. You can put on some higher item level things that may not have as good of a bonus on it, in terms of like being able to obtain it from the seal vendor or the current campaign store or the arena. Sometimes those things actually have decent decent stuff on them too. And I think that's like all I've got time for now, actually, because I'm 46 minutes late to my own runs. Oops.
Yeah, we can add like an extended like edited like clip afterwards, going over the rest if need be.
Yeah, but I mean that's pretty thorough for right now. So, anyways, I hope anybody that does come across this in the future and sticks it out through watching this whole long freaking thing, long-winded everything that I've given you, can take away something from it that's useful. And if I gave you bad advice, also, I'm sorry. I don't think I did. That's why Lou was here for safety purposes, so I don't steer anybody wrong. But, anyways, that's it for Teaching Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. Comment below if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. That's it for this now. Okay. Uh-oh. You gonna invite people to the party?
No.